the New England Patriots. You know, they're the dynasty team right now. You know, they have a great nucleus. They have guys up there that don't care about who gets the publicity. You know, they're a team. You know, you hardly ever hear about someone, you know, griping about publicity. Someone's doing this, someone's doing that. You know, they're happy. You know, everybody's doing their job, and you know, they have a great fit. You know, everybody want to win, and you know, that's what they do. And that's the only thing they're about, just winning. Tom Brady, he's been a guy that's, you know, that got drafted late. You know, didn't expect to do, you know, the things that he's done this far. You know, he was planning on coming in and being a backup guy to Drew Bledsoe, and then he got thrown into the fire, and he was successful doing it. And now it's all downhill for him. Now he's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Quarterback situation, you know, it's a touchy situation. You know, you don't need a great quarterback. You just need a good quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, that don't throw the ball away, and surround him with great personnel. You know, and I think what they're trying to do is they're looking for a great quarterback, and I think that's been the problem in the last 3 or 4 years.
It's not bad though.
Well, you know, Bill Parcells, he's a great coach, and you know, he's been coaching the Giants. You know, that's hard to swallow. You know, you got a Giant coach that's been coaching the Giants for 10 years, and he becomes a Cowboy coach. You know, it's one of those things you kind of raise your eyebrows about. But you know, it's the NFL, and you know, they're looking for, you know, the best fit for the team. And you know, at the time, you know, he's the best fit for the team. He's done a great job down there. The reason for that is, you know, the good Lord above, you know, that's his team. So that's why it's America's team. And you know, everybody loves the Dallas Cowboys. You can come 10,000 miles away from Texas, you're going to find about 6,000 or 7,000 Cowboy fans. You know, we had a great team. We had a bunch of great players, you know, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and it was just a treat, and it was an honor playing with those guys. I knew the night before, you know, the draft. They called me the night before and said we're gonna draft you. So we wanted to work out a contract, you know, tonight and get it done. And so tomorrow you won't have to sit around and be anxious and be nervous about when you're gonna get drafted. But you know, and I wasn't a Cowboy fan when I was growing up. I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and you know, but it worked out for the best, and you know, I'm happy. You know, things worked out for me, and I went to the Cowboys. It was like a blessing. It was one of those things, you growing up as a kid, you know, you had no anticipations or aspirations of playing, you know, professional football, and then it happens to you, and then it's just like, oh, it's overwhelming, and you're coming down through that tunnel, and you look out there, you know, it's a job now, but you know, you're getting paid a lot of money to do it, and you're having a good time doing it. The biggest game of my career was my first start. We played Arizona Cardinals. You know, Jimmy Johnson told me, he said, we're going to start you. If you play bad, you might not ever play again. But fortunately, I played good, and the rest has been history. Yeah, I talked to Michael a lot. You know, me and Michael, we were real good friends, and everybody else is, you know, different parts of the United States, and, you know, I see them when I see them. I think the rules, they got some rules that I think is just outrageous. You know, you got the 5-yard rule where the defensive back can't touch the receiver. You know, when I played, you know, the defensive backs, they grabbed you, they held you all the way down the field, and it was much harder to catch passes. And now it's easy. You know, if you can't, you know, after 5 yards, he's running free. So that's why you got a lot of guys breaking a lot of records, receiving yard records. And I think the quarterbacks, they should let them get hit a little bit more. You know, they make all the money, and they should realize what football is all about. You know, everybody has a helmet and pads on, and now, you know, if you run by the quarterback and blow on them, it's a 15-yard penalty. So I think, you know, those rules are, you know, change the game a lot. My main thing is to get them to do is to catch the ball. You know, catch it and score it, and hopefully they can dunk it over the goalposts. You know, the things that I used to do.